Hello, Cryptonauts, and welcome back to another episode of Cryptocurrency Chat. Today's host is going to be Cryptolyssa, and our speaker of today is going to be Jake Jaboreli. With that said, let me go ahead and plug in the disclaimer. This content is for entertainment purposes only. Any comments made by the host or the guest is not financial advice. With that said, Cryptolyssa, it's all you.
Thank you, John. I'm so excited to be here. Little nervous because it's my first actual be as a host, but we're gonna make it. And I'm so excited to introduce you guys to Jake. Jake, what is your favorite pastime?
Oh yes, the icebreaker thing. Yeah, I like to travel. I haven't gotten a lot of chance to travel as of late, but over the summer I did a lot of it. I went to all kinds of crazy places out here in the Sacramento area. Just we're technically gold country out here, and so there's a lot of 49er encampments that were built up in the last 150 years. And I've tried the best I can to go to a lot of them. I think my favorite one in the summertime was going to a town called Volcano. There is no volcano up there. There's a little bit of volcanic ash from probably a thousand, million years ago or something, but there's no actual volcano. And what's fun about that town, though, in particular, is that it has black caverns in it, and the black caverns themselves aren't very big, but it's not a lot of places in California you can go underground where it's all made up so that you can actually look at stuff underground. So it's kind of neat to visit. But yeah, I like to travel when I get the chance.
So, is there any particular place outside of California that you've loved traveling to?
It's been a very long time. I've hit most of the major cities in the United States. I've been to Austin a lot. I'd say it's probably one of my favorite places. It's kind of a weird annex to Texas. 'Cause it's kind of like Silicon Valley, uh, but in Texas. And I think people actually refer to it that way. So I like Austin. I love New York. Haven't been there in a year, in quite a number of years. Um, Austin, but yeah, I'd say if I wanted to go back somewhere, I'd say Chicago because the last time I was in Chicago was like early 2000s, and I just haven't seen it in a long time. I really kind of miss going back.
That's so cool. I haven't even been to Chicago or New York. I've been to Texas a couple of times, but um, I would like to hit New York or like all major cities, I would say. I've traveled a lot in California, like you said that you have. So I'm trying to get out of California realm. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do or did before crypto?
So can you say again? Get kind of cut out there.
Oh, can you talk a little bit about what you did uh, previous to crypto, or um, if you're still doing it, or if you do crypto full time?
Yeah, I would say I do crypto for fun and for work. Kind of made itself into a job because I made my hobby into a job. But before crypto, let's see, I got into crypto in the summer of 2014. I'd heard about it from actually a Sunday school student of mine who was mining Bitcoin back in 2012, but I kind of didn't think much of it at that time. Prior to that, let's see here. Pretty sure I'm the eldest of the group here. Uh, I got into IT. Well, I was always electrically inclined, always into computers, always into electronic stuff. I was a sound engineer initially, or at least that's what I went to school for back in the 90s. But uh, I got into IT in the late 90s, and that worked for an electrical engineering firm after I got out of school, and worked there for about a little over 10 years. Got into all kinds of interesting electronics things through that company, even though I wasn't explicitly doing my degree. As an electrical engineer, I could have worked as an electrical engineer for Maxim Integrated, which is my first major job, but I didn't. I was IT the whole time. And after Maxim, I went to a data center company called NTT America, and then after that, I went out on my own. But uh, I would say I've always been a projects person, and in the middle of like early 2000s, I got into electric cars. I'd actually been into them in the 90s when I was in high school, but didn't really, as a high school student, you don't have a lot of leeway or clout to do anything. So it wasn't until about 2005 when I got into electric cars. I'm still doing electric car stuff now, but uh, if there's a claim to fame of something I did before crypto, because technically 2008 was about the time I got into it, 2005 to 2008, Bitcoin wasn't a thing yet. So at that time, I was doing just participating with the club, and then later, when crypto became more of a thing, and I had more time and more energy and more interest, I got into crypto, like I said, in 2014. But actually, in 2014, right after I got into crypto, I was the president of the Electric Auto Association in Silicon Valley. And while I was there, late in that year, we set a Guinness World Record. I still have that placard on my wall proving that I set a Guinness World Record. Not personally, but with the group. And I got into Dogecoin and Litecoin, and realized it was hard to purchase crypto in the early days, and so I just decided to mine it. It was easier to get a hold of. Mine Doge. At one point, I think I had about 500,000 Doge. I started mining Litecoin at that time. I don't remember how much I had total until after I looked at the wallet. I think the total amount of Litecoin I had at any one time was about 300. But the crypto didn't really become a thing like it is for me today until, I would say, early 2019, when I realized there were possibilities that would serve me in a way that would make a business and a job out of it. I decided in 2017 I didn't want to work for anyone else. I wanted to work for me. And they say you can be your own worst boss. So I decided to work for me in 2017, and that didn't work out because I couldn't get enough clients. So I went back to working for another company, 9 to 5, and it's been a battle to myself, battling with myself as to whether or not I want to work for me or I want to work for someone else. I know I want to work for me, so I've been trying to pour all my energy into building the farm that I currently own, and making it profitable and making it a thing that I can live off of. So I am a miner. I have been mining now for my own customers for a little over a year and a half, and I really enjoy this, even as hard as it can be at times. It is fascinating. It is something that uses all the talents I have and all the things that I've learned over the last 25 years. And it's I don't know if it's I don't know. The phrase I was thinking of was Confucius saying that goes, if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. So
Yes, that is for sure. So you mentioned that you used to teach Sunday school. Did I hear that right?
yes,
Or
that's true. Yes.
could you expand a little bit on that portion?
All right.
Or
So I've been raised in a faith, born and raised in the faith, a Christian faith that I belong to. And let's see here, 2006, I joined the church in Sunnyvale where I lived most of the time. I lived in Silicon Valley from like the late 90s until the late teens. So basically from like 1999 until 2018. And then in the early 2000s, I joined a church that was there of the same faith. And they're like, oh, a new person. Hey, what would you like to do? And I was like, I want to do everything, And they're like, oh, would you like to be on the board? And would you like to be a Sunday school teacher? Would you like to be the pastor? I'm like, like I said, I'll do it all. And of course, they basically gave me every job, but you can't do every job. That's impossible. So from about 2006 to 2014, I was a Sunday school teacher, and at one point, the superintendent of the Sunday school at my church. Would you like me to go any more detail than that?
oh no, I didn't know if you were done. Just it got quiet, so I didn't know if you got done.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you were, you know, an engineer, right? And so obviously this coding comes easy to you, I'm assuming.
It's something I learned. I wouldn't say it's my favorite thing to do, but any
No.
intricate and complicated uh, concepts and ideas do intrigue me.
So did you ever see yourself coming into the crypto space full time? Or did you think that you would work a regular job for your whole career?
I have never stuck to, well, that's not true. For almost 25 years, I've been pretty much doing IT systems administration work. Only as of late have I been doing something different than that, other than crypto. When I got into crypto in 2014, and like I said, realized that it would be more difficult to buy than to just mine, I started buying mining equipment. Went on Craigslist, found miners, bought their equipment, figured out how it worked, plugged it in, ran it, made coin. Um, and it was always a loss. Basically, I always lost money on it. I didn't really make it very much money until about 2016 to 2018. I saw the writing on the wall. I saw Bitcoin going up. I wish I'd bought more Bitcoin when it was cheaper. I think everybody does. But I made a bet with myself. I said, okay, well, I'm going to use the technique I've been using for years when I'm doing investing. And that is, if I double my money, I sell half of what I have and recoup the cost of what I put into it. And that's what I did. I bought one Bitcoin for $400 in 2016. And then in 2017, when it hit $800, I sold half of it. And then I had half a Bitcoin, which was basically free, because that's what you should do. You should sell off till you have, in my opinion, like I said, we said the disclaimer at the beginning, this is not financial advice. This is my opinion. This is what I did. It worked for me. What works for you will be different. I sold that, and then I held that half Bitcoin until Bitcoin hit $20,000 at the end of 2018. At which time I exercised it, not knowing the price is going to go down. But I find it ironic that I sold on the last day of the highest price that Bitcoin hit at that time. I think it had hovered around 20 grand for like a day and a half to 2 days. And right in the middle of that, I traded that half Bitcoin for 2 ASIC miners, which I then used for the next 2.5 years to make far more than $10,000 worth of coin. But I definitely made my money back over that time. And
that's all that counts in this business. You
and
know,
I still have those 2 ASIC miners, even though they're not hardly worth anything. But that was the convincer for me. I think I was already convinced at the time. It was more of a hobby. It was just like something for fun. Never thought it would be a job until, like I said, 2019, when I realized a lot of things were conjoining to form the perfect opportunity. And I would say that, unlike some people I know, and I'm not talking about any of the people in this group right now, but some of my friends have the tendency to act more quickly than I do. I'm a lot more hesitant. And I may have missed out on a lot of opportunities that I could have taken better advantage of if I had been quicker to act. I find myself sometimes selling myself off. Like, I'll tell a bunch of people about a cool idea. They'll take that idea and do something with it. I feel like I hate to say it, use their experiences as examples of what I could or could not do, or should not do. And not always does it work, but when I get excited about something, I want to tell everybody about it. And that's not necessarily, if you find, like, it's like the fake gurus that say, oh, I found this great way to invest. But rather than practice it myself, which a smart person would do, these people have decided to sell their idea to everyone else. And that concept, the idea of selling a technique or a method, is very common in the sphere of investing, because people realize that although it is possible to become a good investor, that takes a lot more effort than just selling the idea to a bunch of, I hate to put it this way, but noobs, people who don't know what they're doing. It's easier to sell a sucker on apparently good idea than it is to actually practice that good idea. So a lot of fake gurus will do exactly that. I find myself to be incredibly hesitant when I see like, oh, that too good to be good, true, eh? I don't believe that, so I won't dig into it. I won't get into it. I'll do as much research as I possibly can, but I won't necessarily do anything on it. When it came to if I had been more headstrong, I think I might have gotten more deeply into crypto earlier and made a lot more money at it. But I'm just too hesitant, and I think that I don't know if it's a personal ideal, probably is, but kind of the slow and methodic, planning and determining and researching and trying to go forward is the better way of going. It may not make money as quickly, but it will save you from a lot more pain. And I have learned the hard way many times what it's like to jump to conclusions. So,
Yes, for sure. And jumping to conclusions is easy to do, and a lot of people do it fairly quickly. I always use the term, don't judge a book by its cover. Um, and to me, that's kind of a reminder of, don't be too quick to judge, draw conclusions, um, etc. I would say.
yep.
So you said that you have a mine right now, or you're a miner and you have a farm.
I refer to it.
Can you?
I refer to it as
What
a
do you?
farm instead of a mine, which I guess people do refer to it as mining. Um, I decided to rebrand as a farm because I'm out here in farm country, as I think you are too. Um,
Yes, I am in farm country.
I felt like it would be more friendly of a name, so I've been calling it my farm instead of my mine.
I'm sure up in farming community, you would probably get some weird looks if you said, "Oh yeah, I have a mine." um, so can you tell us a little bit about your farm and do you have GPUs or ASICs or a
So
combination of the
it's a
two?
risky business. I'm trying to think of the guy who runs. I can't think of his name now. Let me look. I know I'm part of. Oh, Bits Be Trippin' on YouTube. I don't know if you guys have heard of Bits Be Trippin', but the guy that runs that mine or that farm has a lot more GPUs than I do, quite a bit more. And I think he moved on to ASICs and liquid cooling as of late. I remember him talking about that recently. But I got into this with 16 graphics cards, all the same kind. A friend who just had them sitting around. He had originally had a company similar to what we're doing now, and his company had failed. He got stuck with a bill and had to declare bankruptcy. It was really unfortunate. Not all businesses succeed. And he's still skeptical, even though he's involved in this. Uh, anyways, I got this started with his cards, and he's like, you can pretty much keep all the profits as long as you don't get rid of the cards. I don't care. And then he told me about other people that he had built systems for who still own those systems, the rigs that he built, and I inducted all their rigs into the farm as well. And then when we picked up another friend who knew more about finance, he started getting more people with larger sums of money to buy into more equipment. And so now we're at about 100 GPUs in the farm and about 35 systems that are just CPU based systems, and then about 5 ASICs, not a whole lot of ASICs. ASICs use a lot of power. The advantage, and I don't mind admitting this in this interview, that we have, and the reason I even did this in the first place, because there's a lot of different questions when it comes to can you build a mine or a farm. One of those is where are you going to get and how much power are you going to use? Where are you going to get it from and how much are you going to use? Now, a lot of mines, in my experience, up into the northern states because the power is cheap. It's mostly run off of waterfalls, hydropower rather. And so the power tends to be really inexpensive. I know up in Washington it can be as cheap as 5 cents per kilowatt, and here in California it can be very expensive depending upon where you live. But I happened to find a place that did what's called gross lease. If you know anything about leasing property or leasing an office space, you know that gross lease is pretty uncommon, mainly because nobody does it. It's just not as practical for the owner. The owner would rather have the tenant pay for pretty much everything if they could. And this place that I'm in doesn't do that. They don't even have power meters for all of the suites. So it kind of has to be gross lease. Uh, so I got in here and I asked the guy, I said, look, I'm going to be doing hardware testing, which is not inaccurate. Um, and he said, that's fine. I said, oh, I'm going to be using a lot of power. He said, that's fine. I said, you're sure? He said, yes. You're willing to sign up for a year's worth of time from me. I'm fine with you doing whatever you want in the suite. I said, all right. So since then, he's changed his tune, but not by a lot. I'm still getting the suite for a lot less than most people pay for per square foot. And it's all flat rate. I don't pay for power. I mean, I do pay for power by paying for the lease. Don't pay for power per kilowatt. Um, and although there are an interesting number of different problems I have to deal with in this, the cost is one of the nice ones I don't really have to think much about. And so, are we making enough money to make more than enough money to pay everybody who works here? Not really. But I have made a lot of customers pretty happy. So,
Hey, that's all that counts. Oh, well, I mean, obviously we're all in to make money, but making customers happy is always the number one thing because then they'll always stick around, right?
yep, yep. I've been fortunate in that sense. So it's still a relatively small operation, uh, but it's something I really enjoy doing, despite the problems I've run into. It's it takes a lot of attention to detail and a lot of comprehension and understanding of how computers work and what you can do to improve upon that performance. I would say there if I have a mantra, a personal mantra, it's efficiency over everything. I realize there are other aspects to life than efficiency, and I will pay attention to those things. But I make it a point for myself to be as efficient as possible with my hardware and with my job. And so I'm always seeking a better way to do something. And that's probably the thing I enjoy doing the most is seeking efficiency and making it practical. So if I do with my current position here, the owner of this farm, that's always what I'm doing is seeking the most efficient thing I can.
That's pretty cool. I mean, what person wants to find more efficiency? I mean, obviously all of us do. Well, I do.
Not, not
Because
everyone does. It's surprising. I would say a lot of people just want to be happy and just have a good life rather than actually seeking efficiency because there's plenty of things that people do that are so totally inefficient and it makes them happy so they don't care if it's not efficient.
so is your ultimate goal quitting your job and doing crypto full time?
Yeah, I would say that would probably be it. I mean, let me make a side comment on this in general. I didn't come out to the Sac Metro area where I currently live to do crypto. I realize it's something I know how to do and it's something I've been doing for a while, but it's not was not my original goal. Original goal when coming out to this area was to buy land and then to practice a different program I've been working on back in the San Francisco Bay Area, which was a program I created called the Energy Independence Project. And the idea in that was to help residents that live in the city live off grid. Cities don't like you to leave the grid. They find that to be impractical because then you're not paying them and they want you to do that. And how would you leave the grid while you're still technically in it? So there have been plenty of lawsuits and conflicts between people who want to be off grid but still live in the city. And so I saw the problem and wanted to solve it. So the point of buying land was to be able to practice that, practice what I was preaching so I could sell the idea to other people and do consulting. And crypto is a thing I know how to do. And it is the thing that I hope makes me money so that I can pour that money into my other projects. So it's a means to an end. Um, and I do like crypto, and I think it's fascinating, and I think it's going to be revolutionary, not just in being a financial um, vessel, but it's there's all kinds of things that we can use crypto for, not just making money or sending money or spending money. It's just one of the probably near infinite ideas that the concept of crypto can be used for. The public ledger, as it were. I'm fascinated by that, and I hope to be able to use it in um, in my other ventures once I can get to doing those things. But I'm I don't want to make this podcast about anything other than crypto, but there are so many other project aspects that I've been trying to delve into that can help California become uh, more energy independent and not worry so much about what people are spending their wheels on, like pouring power into crypto. Um, I guess the only teaser I'd like to put in is I've been trying to develop and look into ways of reducing California's water use. Right now, I think more than 60% of the water use in California goes to farming. And I'm not saying that's bad, but we could be so much more efficient. I'm not going to go into how or why, but there's just so much more that can be done. And um, one of the things I found is practical is if you can make a thing, it might be altruistic, it might be good, it might just be political interference that you're running into, but if you can make it uh, practical and something that capitalism looks fondly at, then you can get that thing to work. You don't have to worry about fighting politicians anymore. At the point that it becomes a capitalistic ideal, people will spend all their money to make it happen. And so my goal with this is to try to make this energy independence project and other projects with farming into uh, a capitalistic ideals. If we do that, nothing will stop it. So
Could you see crypto going into that project?
yeah, no, I plan on using crypto in my projects. Um, for nothing more than just like public ledger of information of seeing the things that are happening. I'm not going to divulge all this because some of this is NDA stuff, but um, I I'm looking forward to using the advantageous aspects of crypto in the use of those other projects. So,
Well, I'm interested to learn more when that time comes, and hopefully that time comes. I'm super excited for you that you've got all these other projects going on. In terms of crypto, what would you say your favorite cryptocurrency is, and what your least favorite cryptocurrency is, and why?
all right, well, I'm going to start with the least because I don't know that I have a most at the moment. I have ones that I like, but I wouldn't say they're most. Um, least is Ethereum. Um, I don't want to put Ethereum down too much because it's the second version of crypto to be popular, and it was poorly designed. Now, fortunately, there are other people developing ways of making that poor design not so problematic. But yeah, it's ironic because my mine up until a week ago was mining Ethereum, and I most of the time that the farm existed, it was farming Ethereum. That was all it did. And I have convinced all my customers to move away from Ethereum because we're not going to be able to mine it anymore, farm it anymore. Not immediately, but in the near future. I know that Vitalik Buterin had said that it wouldn't be until mid 2022 when they finally convert over to proof of stake. But at some point in the very near future, a lot of machines are going to shift away from Ethereum onto other coins, and it will be the true day of all altcoins getting boosted for proof of stake or proof of work rather. So yeah, my least favorite is Ethereum because of its inefficiencies, and also because of its weirdly centralized management. Um, but if I were to try to pick a favorite, still like Dynamo, even though it's been having trouble lately. I don't really have I'm dedicated to Dynamo. I spent a lot of time on it, and I really like it, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite. It's the favorite of the hour, if it's anything. I think it has a great deal of potential, and I really think that a lot of people could benefit from its utility because of the founder's ideals on what Dynamo was set out to be. But I don't know that I have an explicit favorite. I just know I don't own a whole lot of Bitcoin, and I don't own a lot of Ethereum because I'm not fond of either one of them.
So, can you explain a little bit about what Dynamo Coin is?
So Dynamo is a fork of Bitcoin, with a lot of attempts to fix the problems that both Ethereum and Bitcoin have. Bitcoin currently stands at primarily a store of value, which is not a bad thing, but it was always really costly to transact on Bitcoin. Now, I know Lightning Network takes care of that, but that's still a layer 2 thing, not layer 1 thing. And the popularity of Bitcoin means that a lot of people own it because everybody knows it. It's the Disney of crypto. It's the most popular name. Dynamo is the plans, the ideals of Dynamo originally, before this weird problem that happened in the last 2 weeks, was to be a proof of work and proof of stake coin. So it wouldn't have the 51% attack problem that other coins have. It was to do NFTs, and it's well on its way to doing that. It was to do relatively inexpensive transactions. It was to do all voting on the chain instead of through a centralized entity like a DAO, or even actually a DAO is technically more decentralized. I shouldn't say a DAO is like that. Like a company, like a foundation or something. It was to try to get away from that and have proof of staking, or staking and DeFi, as well as storage, and to try to hit all the major functions of a coin or a token, and to make all that stuff possible. And so, one of the things that I really liked about the foundation of the founding developers concept of Dynamo was that we could use it on any of the normal ways of mining. So you could do it on GPUs or CPUs, but not on FPGAs or on ASICs. It was going to be resistant to those types. And I'm not going to go into the things that happened as of late, but in its ideal, it is easy for anyone to use a CPU or a GPU on. And that it guarantees that it will be very decentralized. It's a very noble ideal. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out that way, but it's going through some growing pains, and every coin has some aspect of this, especially if it gets any level of popularity. So I'm encouraged by the interest in it. The guy who created it, Sean Neal, he got tired. It's kind of the typical American story of that everyone else turned you away, so you went and did it on your own. That is exactly what happened with Dynamo. We went to all these different groups: Ethereum, Ravencoin, Bitcoin, Cosmo or Cosmos. I don't remember the other ones. He went to a lot of different coin groups, talked to them, and said, "Hey, could you do these changes to your own coin?" And they pretty much shoved him away and said, "No, we're not interested in whatever you're selling." So he's like, "Hey, fine, I'll do it myself." And that's what exactly he's done. And I think the other important thing to make, and Sean has said it many times, and he's been on this podcast. It's not about making money. It's not a rug pull. It's not anybody can say this. Obviously, he make these claims, but it's pretty obvious by his actions and by the kind of person he is that it is about making a truly decentralized, multi-function, multifaceted coin that can improve upon the previous coins that are either have been in in the space for a while, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, or even new ones that have come out, like Raven, which is not that old, um, and improve on that. Everybody's got their own purpose, but this one is very distinct in that it's got a lot of really good uses. So I would say maybe it's not even soup of the day. It's my favorite so far. So
That's great to hear. I mean, I love hearing everybody's favorite crypto because as a newcomer myself, I'm still learning. There's thousands of coins. So hearing everybody's personal favorite is, or, in your case, soup of the day or soup of the hour.
coin of the
Um,
day, coin of the hour, right? I couldn't think of if something du
yeah,
jour, right? This just means of the day, but
yeah.
couldn't think of how to say coin in French. So
So speaking of French, do you speak other languages?
uh,
No.
how do I say this exactly? Je ne sais pas. I don't know. En français. I know a little bit of a lot of languages. I can say sprechen Sie Deutsch, which is do you speak German in German. Parlez-vous français, which is do you speak French in French. Um, uh, I have forgotten how to say it in Spanish now, and yet I had a lot of Spanish in school. It's slipping my mind. Anyways, various little phrases. My brother speaks Japanese. My mom speaks French. My dad spoke German. So I've gotten a lot of different languages over the years. Um, and every now and then just saying those phrases. I don't know. I would like to learn languages, and I spent a long period of time on Duolingo for probably like 4 years trying to learn uh, French, Spanish, Russian, Hungarian, Japanese, and uh, and Korean. Do I speak them? No. Can I understand them? Sort of. Can I read them? No, it's not.
Eh,
I'm not a polyglot yet.
is that your goal?
No, no.
No.
One way of putting it, not to make this interview go much longer, but I'm interested in a lot of different things, and uh, there's not too many things that don't interest me. And I need to be prepared and understand and try to get into that thing as best I can. But if something sounds fun and interesting, I'll look into it. I'll research it. Um, I remember a friend of mine from the Electric Auto Association making a comment. Who's an engineer. She worked for HP and for Apple for a number of years. And I made the comment when we were sitting at one of our meetings was, I said, I'm an engineer, and she's like, you're not an engineer. I'm like, well, my degree says I'm an engineer, and she's like, no, you're not an engineer. And the reason I say that is because you have a social life. It's like, are you saying engineers don't have social lives? She's like, no, engineers don't know how to socialize. And it's like, oh, yeah, you're probably right about that. She's like, you have too many facets to your character. You know about too much stuff, and you are interested in too many things. Engineers are one directional. They're only interested in engineering. That's it. I said, you're right. In general, that tends to be the case. And for me, I have an interest in many different things. Um, and I'm very sociable. I think I am, at least, um, when I have the time to be so. So yeah, I'm fascinated in anything I can learn about. To go into more detail, I guess, to try to coalesce these ideas into one, you know, generality. I got into farming, which I'm terrible. I do not have a green thumb, but I'm really interested in if making farming efficient. Um, I've gotten into clothing, and seeing my mom did clothing, a clothing business for a number of years, and she kind of gave me an insight to how things like that worked. And I would say most men aren't interested in that. I am very interested in it. How clothing fits, what colors go well with what other colors, I'm interested in home design and colors and aspects of that. I did architecture for a while. I mechanical engineering for a while. I worked on cars for a while. I've obviously worked on computers for a while. Uh, I'm fascinated in all kinds of sports because I spent so much time in high school and junior high and elementary school in various different sports, and so I like to play if I can. Um, I spent a lot of period of time learning how to count cards for playing 21. I'm not very good at it, but I can do it. If it's a 6 card shoe, I might be able to do it, but I need more practice. But there's so many different things, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. So many different things I like. Um, I don't think I have just one thing. I mean, I'm spending a lot of time on crypto because it's fascinating, but there's all kinds of things I'd like to do. So when it shows me something fun, I'll try it.
You sound like a magician. You don't know what you're going to pull out of as far as what you're looking into. So I'm going to ask this question, and it may go where it goes, but do you think crypto long term could help solve government problems that we have?
Oh, wait, that crypto can solve government problems? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I think crypto can solve a whole lot of different problems. When it comes to government things, there may be functional aspects that crypto can help solve, but they can't really solve the problem of the good old boys club. That is or the old, yeah, I mean, that takes a certain level of finesse that a computer just can't do. Um, it's, it, I don't think, maybe AI will eventually become good enough to really sling some good BS, but I don't think it will ever comprehend BS. And I'm not saying all the government is BS, but there's a lot of finesse and I'm trying to think of another term that describes it. Uh, Colloquial attitude that takes just a level of it's more like a subjective thing than an objective thing. Crypto is good at objective aspects, and politics is very subjective. So is government. Now, can it fix things that give us that we need to use ledgers for? Government is particularly good, at least in my experience, in keeping track of stuff. Can crypto do that? Absolutely. It can definitely help the government keep track of the literally immense number of things it has to deal with on a regular basis. So, could it create a ledger that could be archived, even if it needed to be encrypted, so that it wouldn't necessarily be publicly available? Absolutely. There's a lot of different things that it could resolve. We just need to figure out how to implement it. So, but as far as the politics aspect
So,
goes, I don't think that crypto is going to solve that problem at all.
well, I think long term it could solve, like you said, some parts, not all of it. So another aspect of crypto as of late is NFTs or non-fungible tokens. Do you own any, or what? How do you perceive this space to go?
So Mike sent me a whole bunch of assets on Raven when I first met him. I have a lot of assets in my Zelcorp wallet. I only at this point own, I think, 5 NFTs, most of which I've received for free. Some of only, I think, 2 of which I purchased. I try to go from the more practical aspect of the NFT concept, the tying it to something of value, and not just as the craze has gone with what appears to be money laundering and the sale of very expensive things on the internet. I think NFTs can be quite practical in tying themselves. Like, I'm trying to think of how Raven was originally doing it. I like the idea of selling. Oh, these are assets, not NFTs. Of selling stock. In fact, I looked into Raven initially to try to do that, to use Raven as my stock for my company, so I could raise money. And I may still do that. I'm not 100% sure that I will go the more traditional way or use Raven as that asset technique. But as far as NFTs go, I think NFTs can be really useful in ways we haven't even fathomed yet. Like John's example of putting his book in the format of an NFT. You can resell the book, but I mean, the original copy, like the master copy, can be an NFT, and you can just hold on to it and say, nope, no one can own this. This is my original copy. Um, but you could give out, copies of NFTs of all those individual non-functional tokens were unique. That could be a way of doing it. But in the sense of uniqueness as to what an NFT actually is, it means it can't be split up like an asset can. Um, it's fascinating. I at this moment can't even, like I said before, fathom the scale at which NFTs could possibly be of value to the world. We're really just hitting the tip of the iceberg right now, in my opinion.
So you think it's obtainable for a longer period of time?
Well, as long as the network exists, yeah. I know we've talked about how some companies were embedding the content of an NFT into their website instead of putting it on a chain. I think that's poor practice. I think that the better practice is to embed it in the chain and use something like IPFS to keep track of that extra content. But the uh, yeah, the utility of NFTs, I can't even explain. It's just too much to it.
Too much in not a short amount of time.
We could have an entire series of shows about NFTs probably.
So how would you, this will probably be my last question before we close this podcast out. Where would you like to see crypto and or NFTs go for the future?
I'm going to set NFTs aside because I still don't fully comprehend what I can do with them at this moment. Like I said, there's just too many possibilities. I don't know if there's going to be like a uniquely obvious best use case for NFTs at this moment. But for crypto, example I was thinking of lately was cutting out the middleman. Um, when I first even comprehended the idea of crypto, in the infancy of my discovery of it, I was fascinated to see what FedEx and UPS had been in talks about doing with it. They were saying, hey, we could have a way of tracking a package from source to destination perfectly every single time, as long as it was tied to blockchain. And then we could cut out all these middlemen groups that we have to deal with because we wouldn't need them to track it anymore. And I think the middlemen groups don't want to be eliminated, so they probably come up with their own method of doing it, and they probably try to self-justify. But I get what they're getting at. It's this public ledger that tells you exactly what has happened. You don't have to trust a third party. You literally just look at the blockchain. It tells you where it's been. Now, can people put false information or child porn on the blockchain? Yes, they can. How do you protect against that? We haven't figured that entirely out yet. I know that Mango Farms has talked about encryption, but that doesn't say what the content is. It just says that no one else can see it. It has been at least ledgerized, but I can definitely see that crypto being a tool like Web3, as Jack Dorsey was saying. Web3 is the future. This is when everybody gets a piece of the pie and gets to own part of the internet. Crypto is the future. It's the next revolution in not just in finance, but in all kinds of aspects. Like I said before, with NFTs, I can't identify all the different possibilities that crypto could possibly be used for. I can't even think of that. It's too limitless at this point. I mean, it's like trying to enumerate the internet. I know Google tries to do it. I still don't think they have. It is a fascinating and unique and valuable tool that we have figured out how to use. And I keep looking back at this. I'm going to look up this name real quick and make sure I'm getting it right. Milton Friedman. I mentioned him multiple times in the podcasts that we've done in the past. He was a brilliant economist and statistician who in the late 70s theorized about the concept of cryptocurrency. Now, he didn't call it cryptocurrency, he called it e-cash, which ironically is a cryptocurrency now. But he was fascinated with the idea of getting money out of the hands of the financial institutions, and yet he was an economist, a person involved in this directly. But his point was, we need to wrest control of money and its processing away from the financial beings that exist, because they so commonly try to use it to control people, and that's inappropriate. And he saw that. He saw that before I was born. This interview they did was I believe it was in the early 70s or mid 70s. I wasn't born until the late 70s. But he said this, and my dad was the one who told me about this guy, and I read his book because it was so important. And the man lived from the early 1900s until he almost 100 years old. He lived like 94. And in that whole time, he knew this very problem that we'd been seeing. And did he become vastly wealthy? No, because he was trying to enable the everyone. I should say he was more of an altruist as an economist than a person interested in collecting large sums of money for himself and his friends. So I respect the man because I feel like my goal is similar. I never wanted to become a billionaire or even a multimillionaire. I wouldn't mind living well. But a lot of my projects, when I know I haven't even talked about these things, a lot of my projects, when it comes to finance, are trying to help people get themselves out of the cycle of poverty. Having been a Christian, raised in a Christian faith and been a Christian my entire life, I always ponder when I see people struggling to make ends meet. And I know I've struggled to make ends meet, so I know exactly how it feels. But to me, crypto should be a thing of the people. And I know that there's a political scope. And it's funny because I was raised in a conservative Republican family. And when I moved to the Bay Area, I realized there were other ways that people could think. And I stopped being a Republican and stopped being a hard-nosed conservative and became neutral instead of going just the other side. I looked at it and said, I can be on the fence. I don't have to be one side or the other. I can take something from both sides. But the point I'm trying to make about that is that my interest is primarily in helping my fellow man. I realize that a lot of people have talked about how crypto seems to be hurting people because it uses so much power. But the idea of crypto helps people. It can help people a lot. And I'm really looking forward to the next even 10 years of what crypto is going to provide, because I'm expecting that it will be absolutely amazing in the next 10 years, and in the next 50 years it could be even more so. I have no idea where it will actually end up or what will come of these ideas, but I'm very much excited about what can happen, and I'm really grateful I'm part of it.
Well, I'm grateful you are too. I mean, I've learned so much in the last, 45, 50 minutes of talking to you. And, I think that's a great point to end on that, crypto can be this, not necessarily out, but help people um, lower in the poverty spectrum. And I'm so glad that you said that because I think that's a great ending to where, crypto can go and has the possibility to go. So I just have one more question, and it's, did you like me interviewing you?
I thought this was a good interview. I didn't kind of wanted to. John and I did a early on interview where he interviewed me as my YouTube channel, which it's almost been a year since I've done anything on it. My YouTube channel was dedicated to crypto, not 100%, but mostly crypto stuff. And so he interviewed me about my interest in it and kind of the same thing we're doing right now. But yeah, I'd say that it was nice to do this again.
Well, I am glad that I got to do it. And thank you so much for being my first victim. And I'm sorry if it wasn't the best experience. Um,
Oh,
but
no problem. No problem at all.
I would like to hand it back over to John to finish our podcast episode with our closer.
Perfect,
Yeah.
perfect. That was funny. I like how you did that. You know, the first victim, Jake. You're the first victim of many to come.
Normally should say first victim. I mean volunteer.
Volunteer, exactly right. That sounds so much better. The first victim. Wow. Okay. Actually, I wanted to know, and for the new listeners out there that don't know, Jaboreli is actually an acronym, right? Do you want to just plug
Yep.
that in real quick?
Well, when I started my YouTube channel, I had done many YouTube channels and many blogs before that, and I realized at the point that I made the content, I needed a way to just do anything, which is ironic that I ended up just doing crypto. But I needed a way to just do anything, and so Jaboreli is a made up name. It's not my last name. It's my nom de plume, or acting name. So yes, Jake is not my real name. I don't mind admitting that, but I'm not going to say what my real name is yet. In any case, the Jaboreli stands for just a bunch of referral links. J, just a bunch of O. But I used the last R E and L I instead of just the characters themselves as a referral and links, because it didn't make sense the way I was doing it initially. I was like, oh, that looks like Jaboreli. All right, it's Jaboreli now. And Jaboreli is not an actual name. You can look it up. You can find Jake Borelli. He's the only person that actually bears a name similar. It's a famous person. But Jaboreli is not a name. It's not an Italian name, even though it sounds Italian.
Cool. Last question. Actually, this is something that I personally want to know. Sorry for stealing your thunder, Alyssa, but I just have one question, Jake. I want to know what your vision is for 2022.
I had a vision. It has now been taken from me. I'm sorry to say, and it has nothing to do with this podcast. I hope to make Dynamo one of my primary coins that I'm working with, not just for its value, but for its monetary value, but for its practical purpose. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Dynamo can become in this new year, and it may not really show up in its full entirety for 2 or 3 years. But it was the first project I'd ever seen that actually had a lot of not just potential for value, but like I said, not just financial potential value, but functional potential value, to actually do things, to actually become more than just a store of monetary source. So I'm hoping that what this 2022 brings is functional aspects of what Dynamo does. I'm really hoping to work more with that. And I guess what Melissa alluded to earlier was, would I like to be in crypto full time? Yes. But there are other things I'd like to be in full time. I would like to be working primarily for me. It was the most ruthless boss I've ever worked for, as the thing that I do. I finally have a way of doing it, and I'm really looking forward to actually doing it itself, because working for someone else, albeit a way to get money, is not very fulfilling. I'm looking forward to this new year to work for me with Dynamo and other coins, and expanding upon what Jaboreli Farms does as of right now.
That's awesome. Well, all the best of luck to you, man. I know you'll do it, man. You're laser focused. You got it. You got it 100%. It's a good way to end it. So with that said, thank you for Jake. Obviously, first of all, thank you, Jake, for being on the podcast. Thanks, Mike, for hanging out. And Cryptolyssa, thank you for hosting the event. All right. So with that said, to the Cryptonauts out there listening or watching all around the globe, thank you. As we get ready to wrap up this year, you can definitely check us out on YouTube, Discord. I'm even on Twitter. You can hang out on Twitter. We're doing a lot of Twitter spaces out there. If you really like the content, make sure you hit that like button. You hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate comments. Comments are so fun. And definitely share, share, share. If you want to go the extra mile, you can definitely help donate to C3 Media with a Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ravencoin, BNB, Ethereum, BATS, or stablecoin USDC. All the links are in the description below. Actually, they're all now they're all tethered into the coin tree, so you can click that coin tree and they're all there. With that said, Cryptonauts, until next time. Actually, I should let Cryptolyssa do this. Until next time. You do know the closing, Lissa?
Until next time, stack stats and bottle. Adios.
Adios. All right.